only for elected officials and council members for this particular incident, and I'll share that with all of you that I just got this afternoon at about 4:30. So I'll share that with you. And then to answer your question regarding the school district, we actually have a task force meeting next Wednesday with the school district, myself, the chief, and Shannon. So we'll be in attendance with them. And with regards to all sending out the same message, internally, that's what the E-team decided to ultimately do, where we're creating one memo with all directors, everyone's initial, everyone's sending out the same message so that we're all very transparent, but also someone from the third floor doesn't come down to the first saying, I heard this or I heard that. It's one memo, one packet, it's a tailgate kind of meeting, and basically one message is very important. Streamlining that process is extremely important. So thank you very much, Councilmember Hernandez, or Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez.
Appreciate that. One other thing too is if we could work with HR to also remind our staff that they are DSWs,
Yes.
disaster service workers, and what that means to them. Because again, we certainly want to be mindful of folks and the illness and things of that nature, but we also need to make sure that we have the appropriate staff or the most essential staff needed as we either gear up, gear down, however the case may be on a day-to-day basis. So that's something very important for all of us. And as Councilmember Garcia mentioned, the flex staff, as we look at the continuity operation planning, what does that look like not only for us, but for our part-time staff members, right? If we were to, shut down some of these programs or whatever the case may be, what are we going to do with those staff? Obviously, I think Shannon mentioned earlier to me that we would be shifting folks over because, again, this also then becomes an economic hit to individuals, and I'm very concerned about that because people need to make rent, people need to make their car payments. Just because we have this, excuse me, this novel event going on, those payments do not stop, unfortunately.
Yes.
So we want to make sure about that.
Yes, and to answer that question, that was a question that did come up with the E-team, and that is something that we plan not to stop. We need all hands on deck, whether you're part-time or as needed. If we don't have something for you here, we can use you elsewhere. So you may be teaching an arts program, but the next day you may be putting paper in the copier. You know what? We need those staff. So whether you're part-time staff is going to be very essential for us during this time. So that is something that we all did talk about. Disaster service workers is under the California Civil Code. And for those of you in the audience that are unaware of that, disaster service worker in a nutshell is any employee that receives or is paid by a public entity is required to continue operating, whether it's here or whether it's in their city because they can't get here. They still have to contribute one way or another to the public municipality. So whether if someone lives in Rancho Cucamonga and they can't get here, they can check in at Rancho Cucamonga with the city, and therefore their time will still be paid and compensated accordingly. But it's a mandate, not by the city, it's a mandate by the state of California Civil Code that they're declared a disaster service worker. So that is a great point, something that I completely forgot. But we will include that information in the literature we're putting out to everybody on Monday, and that would be on the front page of that.
All right, thank you. Yes, Councilmember Alejandra, go ahead.
I also want to add that the school district has been really good at sending out information to all the employees regularly, so we're constantly being informed, also to our families. So information has been sent out, and I know Daniel has been in communication with the school district, but I would like to hear from the school district as well to see what else they would like to add and give us information on, please.
We've been first of all, good evening, Mayor, council members, and thank you for inviting us here. I do want to thank Chief McLean, Mr. Yautzi, and Daniel Rodriguez, who have all reached out to me to make sure the district has been involved in everything that we're doing. So we have regularly been involved in telebriefings at least 2 or 3 times a week with the Los Angeles County Office of Education, along with with members of the Department of Public Health. And so anything that we do is based off of the guidance that we're receiving from them. So what we are doing now is taking some precautionary measures, just making sure that our community understands that we are doing everything possible to ensure their health and safety. For instance, what we're doing right now in the school district, we're making sure that we are doing our regular cleaning, making sure that we're disinfecting on a daily basis in terms of our classrooms, and making sure that we are looking at high-touch areas, lights, water fountains. We're looking at computer keyboards and such. And then we are also purchasing equipment so that we can do deep disinfection on a weekly basis. So those are some of the preventative aspects that we're doing in the school district. But we are also, based off of the guidance that we're getting from the Los Angeles County Office of Education, we are taking some steps to take preventative measures in terms of large gatherings, looking at open houses, we're looking at assemblies, we're looking at field trips that may be going to areas that may be considered a hazard or a concern. So we've already sent out a memo indicating that we are, canceling or postponing those particular events. For instance, we were supposed to have the BPUSD showcase, and we knew that it was going to rain, and more likely than not, we would have been inside the gym with about 500 to 800 people. At that point in time, we made an executive decision to postpone the BPUSD showcase. So we are doing quite a few things, and what we would like to continue to do is to collaborate with the city to make sure that we are all on the same page as we do our messaging. And I'm just glad that you are having this meeting and continuing to reach out to the district so that we can make sure that we are sending out the same message.
Thank you very much, Dr. Brody. And any
Mayor.
Councilmember Monica Garcia?
I just want to go back and talk about the city programs. I do see this as a really critical time for getting ahead of, what potentially could be in our community. And so I really want us to think about suspending some of these programs, and I hate to see that, because I know how much our seniors love their monthly lunches and their dances, but this is in their best interest. This is, they are a very vulnerable population with regard to the coronavirus. And so I do feel that right now would be the time. If we were going to take any action like this, let's do it right now, because it's preventative, right? And we're seeing different institutions respond. Like you said, Daniel, every day there's a new development. And so I feel like if we're going to take any, drastic action, let's do it now while we're still ahead of all of this. And then we can see where we are in a couple of weeks, see where, where the county is, a state, nation. But I really do feel strongly that we should suspend these, group programs. And it does, I say that because I don't want to do that. But of course, I want to put public health and public safety ahead of anything here. And I think that it's serious enough. I agree that we shouldn't send any panic. And if we are going to be adopting this state of emergency ordinance, I think that we need to look at how we package this and communicate it so that people don't go into a panic, so that they know why we're doing these things. And it's all for preventative measure right now. And then we can also perhaps communicate this. I mean, it would be nice if David Vela was part of this effort.
He actually is on the internet listening. I
Oh,
asked him
good.
to listen in so that he could help us prepare a press release immediately. So
Great.
he is on the line.
Yes, because I do think that, getting the word out to the public through, like you said, social media, our our website, our whatever channels we have here at the city, including the newsletter. You know, I don't know if there's an opportunity for us to have a special newsletter, but I think it would be appropriate. And again, to really communicate why the city is doing this. The reason why the city is doing this is not so that everybody can go out and panic and, you know, it's not doomsday. It's really to prepare the city so that, you know, should we need to pursue resources, that it's at our disposal. And people just should know that. I think David could help us with, you know, a communication in collaboration with all the agencies. And I think that the community would also like to see that there are different messages from the city. Well, the same message, right? But coming from the city, coming from the school district, coming from the water agency. Because everybody's running out and getting bottled water. And, you know, it'd be nice for the water agency to also step in and to say, you know, we want to reassure you that our water is in good supply and, you know, and it's clean and it's drinkable and all of that, right? So again, it's all of that. It's like packaging the communication so that we don't promote the panic. But I really would like us to consider suspending these programs for 2 weeks.
Well, first of all, I think that if we are, as was mentioned earlier, you have other, City of Los Angeles still has their various recreational facilities still open. I think maybe giving our seniors at least a week, sometime next week, allowing them to kind of take that in. They're dependent upon that senior citizen center on an everyday basis, Monday through Friday. So it's like a secondary home for them. But I definitely realize what you're saying. I think for us, so that we communicate it to them in the process, Manny Carrillo, somehow, so that they're able to at least comprehend, and then everyone knows about it. It's all over the TV media and so on and so forth. Is somehow deliver that message to them in such type of manner so that they understand why the city, as you mentioned right now, the preventative measures that we're taking to be able to secure and safeguard all our seniors as well. So Manny, what suggestions would you have, sir? I mean, how many seniors gather up there to eat the breakfast and lunches? I've been, it's always packed.
For the lunch program, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, we have approximately 75 participants to 100 on a daily basis. And we have folks in the pool, the weight room, right, the billiards area, the ping pong area, arts and crafts. We have adult school district programs at the senior center as well. So in one particular room, we probably have up to 75 people in one specific room at one time.
So it's definitely going to be a major hit for the seniors that are so accustomed to being there. And I've spoken to some of them who tell me this is their home. This is their secondary home. And I realize, I think that we need to figure out a way to be able to deliver the message and explain to them, obviously, what's transpiring. And then, I guess, consider the 2-week closure of the facility to see where the actual coronavirus is at that specific time.
Mayor?
Yes.
I agree with Ms. Garcia, and since our seniors are the most vulnerable and they are at our community center, at all those facilities, and although we say, or Los Angeles has not shut down any of the facilities, we shouldn't necessarily wait to see what Los Angeles is doing. The mayor of Seattle went on and spoke last night that if they wouldn't have waited so long to do exactly that, maybe the spread of the corona wouldn't have been so hardly hit there in Seattle. So taking preventative measures like this, and again, informing the community the reason why, like Ms. Garcia said, so that they're not in a panic. I'm sure they'll appreciate it more that we are doing this because we are doing it to protect them. So I couldn't agree with her more.
Yeah, and I think that if so, then why don't we allow that at least to continue on all the way up to next week? And then from there, deliver the message either maybe Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday, and then the following week thereafter, then go into the 2-week period that's been suggested.
Can we ask our director about his thoughts on that?
That's what I'm referring.
Yeah, it's a very delicate situation because I realize as a city we want to try to help control this epidemic, but a lot of the seniors at our facilities rely on the social interaction as well as a hot meal at the facility.
Okay.
So it's a very difficult situation. I'd also like to bring to the council's attention that we are having reservations at the facility. For example, tomorrow we have a 200-plus
Funeral services.
reception for a funeral, and on Saturday, we have a 80th birthday party. So we do have a facility sometimes operating 7 days a week. And we do have staff going in to disinfect and everything else, but we have commitments to the community as rental. So if that should change down the road, we would need to give our residents some time to find an alternative facility and/or location.
Thank you. Again, just to continue with this conversation, are we also looking at postponing also the youth programming, or are we just looking at the senior programming?
I think it's all encompasses that, because if it's part that takes place in the community center,
Then there's, I mean, we have
That's
to
why-
think about.
exactly.
We have to think about this a lot deeper than just the seniors, because again, we have, you know, as our director and others have mentioned, you know, we have a segment of our population that are less likely to be affected by this, right? That use this facility on a daily basis and all the way into the evening. So again, my concern is, you know, what are we going to do with them, or what alternatives are we going to do with them? If it's for a short period of time, I understand that, and I'm open to that discussion. But again, you know, sometimes, you know, not taking action is sometimes the best action. I'm not saying that is the case right now, but it is something that we should think about, because again, you know, I know some of our neighboring cities have taken some of this action. As of yesterday or today, I think, there was 2 local cities. So, you know, there is a valid argument to do that. You know, if we're looking for a short period of time, you know, I'm open to that discussion. But again, I would like to also make sure that, you know, at the end of the day, we give our directors the opportunity to make that decision as we're going forward on this on a day-to-day basis. Because again, what we're talking about today might look a lot different from a week from now. And of course, you know, we could certainly take those steps then. And with regards to Seattle, that is a whole different situation there. In which they're
Right away.
facing. There's a completely different situation than what we're looking at. You know, considering the number of affected individuals in a population of 11 million people, you know, the numbers do not compare from us to them. And hopefully we don't get anywhere near there.
That's the